If you're looking for a world timer that breaks those classic codes, bringing a carbon dial and pops of orange and blue, we have it for you here. This is your tempo. This is the new Baltic World Timer, Time+Tide Studio Edition. Let's go. One of the things I didn't expect when I invited some of the biggest brands in our Discovery Studios to respond to a design brief of a watch inspired by music was that through that process, I would get to know the founders so much better. I mean, I've been talking to these guys, covering these watches, working with them in retail for years, but there are things I've learned that give the relationship and the watches they produce and produce with me an extra resonance, a real depth. And probably the deepest story out of this whole tray of watches is around Etienne Malek from Baltic. I learned through our process, our design process for this zesty world timer with a carbon dial and this popping color scheme, is that he diverted down the path of watches because he inherited his dad's collection when his dad passed away when he was quite young. And in that collection of watches, he really built an appreciation for classic watchmaking, for vintage watches, for the heritage codes that his father's watches had that he just didn't see in modern watchmaking. And that led to Baltic's formation in 2016, and that led to this great run of greatest hits. Like if we're picking out a Baltic greatest hits, we've got the HMS 001, we've got the Bicompacts, we've got the Aquascaf. These are all watches that brought some of those vintage codes into watches that were super robust, really well made, and incredibly well priced. So Baltic is off and away to a flyer, and they join our studio. They bring our story and their story together, and we do the night mode together. This is our first collaboration. This was a Hermetique, and we went for the plainest of plain executions with a black plus lots of three-dimensional lume. So this watch is really the most under the radar stealth watch we've done. And that was our first benchmark, and that watch still sells today. Hardly a day goes by that we don't sell a night mode. It has become legendary in our studios. But when it came time to pick up the drumsticks and tune the guitar for round two, we knew we had to push it much, much harder. So when I said to Baltic, when I said to Etienne, mate, I know you love watches that are inspired by your father's collection, and I know that you love pumping music in your Porsche as you drive around those rainy, rain-slicked streets of Paris. Give me something. What are we going to do that can push the night mode into hyper speed? And he said, what if we took the classic codes of a world timer and gave it a carbon dial, which really sexes it up. It really gives it a contemporary edge. And this is what emerges. We have a world timer that is classic by nature, but very contemporary by design. It's on an elastic MN Marine Nationale strap, has this crazy color scheme. We're gonna get into the specs now, but the backstory here is that I learned so much about you, Etienne, and what I learn, I like even more. The brand makes a lot of sense, and this watch truly stands out in that catalog. Let's get into why. So let's get this watch on the wrist. This is a world timer, the Heures du Monde, if you're going to speak French, which I do not and will not attempt to beyond that. Putting this on, if you've ever had an Erica's Original strap or a Marine Nationale strap, they are super easy to work with. You just tilt the buckle and clip it in. For whatever reason you want to loosen it, it's really, really easy to operate and super comfortable and keeps the watch absolutely locked on. So in terms of the case, we have a 37mm diameter with an 11mm thickness, which on my 7-inch wrist is really on the slim side. And then we have a lug-to-lug of 45mm, which is right in the sweet spot for me. There's an extra bit of width in the lug-to-lug due to these lugs being a little longer than you'd expect. But again, the whole package, 37, 11, and 45, keeps it nice and compact. Now, world timers are notoriously difficult to read for the hard of vision, which I definitely am with terrible astigmatism. The beauty of this watch is we have high legibility of the numerals. The only ones that are a little harder to read are the ones that indicate our studios. They're the pops of blue on the bezel, which are nicely spaced. This is a visual indication of why I never sleep, because the sun really doesn't ever set on Time+Tide. We have London, Melbourne, and New York indicated in blue, and that truly circles the globe. There is always a studio open at every hour of the day, which explains why I'm talking like this. Another feature on the dial is we have the 24 hours split into orange for one half and black the other. And this carbon dial, what a beautiful thing. Catches the light, the filaments of carbon all react differently to the angle you're looking at the watch on. This is a neat little piece of kit indeed. We have 100 meters water resistance, which allows this elastic strap to be more than just a sporty look. This is a sporty watch. This can deal with what you're going to throw at it. And we have a movement that is the Soprod C125 automatic with 42 hours of power reserve. A GMT function, as I mentioned before, with the orange and black in this 24-hour ring, and the world timer bezel. The pricing for this watch is going to be around about $1,500 US. It really is a world timer like no other, and it is a fitting way for our relationship with Baltic to change tempo indeed from the night mode in the Hermetique to now this heure du monde, this world timer. Thank you, Etienne, for telling me your story and for giving this more meaning. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is one of 7 editions that we're releasing for FounderFest. They will all become studio editions in our studios, and they will be available night and day, blue, 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 all around the world at all times, for all time, because they are not limited editions, and we will have them until we decide that we won't. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video, and see you in store. This is New York. Come and see us.